Forget everything you thought you knew about the mob. While the men were fighting over power, true queens of the streets were born in the shadows. They were ruthless, smart, and built empires that the male bosses could only dream of. In this video, I'll uncover the secret pages of criminal history and show you the women whose names are still spoken in whispers. Ready to find out who really ruled this world? Watch until the end and you will be shocked. The streets have always spoken the language of power. We're used to this language being male, brutal guys in suits, harsh stares, guns, and stacks of cash. But that's just the cover. Behind every legend of a godfather is the story of a godmother, a woman who pulled the strings, wove intrigues, and when the time came, pulled the trigger without hesitation. Their stories aren't just about crime. They are an anthem to the power of the spirit and an unbreakable will. Imagine Harlem in the 1920s. Prohibition, jazz, speakeasies, and an air thick with risk. In this boiling pot, the ruler wasn't the one with the biggest muscles, but the one with the sharpest mind. And here, on this stage, enters Stephanie St. Clair, known as Madame Queenie. This woman didn't just play the numbers game. She was the main bet in New York's underworld. She built her empire on the policy, an illegal lottery. To the people of Harlem, she wasn't a gangster, but a symbol of hope, their own Robin Hood in a skirt. Stephanie gave people a chance to dream, and they paid her with loyalty. Her people collected bets all over the neighborhood, and her treasury grew every day. She was a queen, and Harlem was her kingdom. She wore furs, drove luxury cars, and feared no one, not the cops, not her competitors. She made her own laws on her own territory. But a big score always attracts big predators. When the infamous mobster Dutch Schultz decided to take over Harlem, he thought some woman wouldn't be a problem for him. What a mistake. Queenie wasn't scared. She declared war on the Italian Jewish mafia. It was a battle of David and Goliath, where the role of David was played by a fragile but unyielding woman. The streets turned red. Stephanie fought her war with audacity and style. She placed ads in newspapers openly accusing Schultz and corrupt police officers. She personally tracked down his men and turned them over to the cops. She turned his life into hell using the main ace of the streets, information. In the end, Dutch Schultz was killed by his own people, and Queenie, though she lost part of her business, kept the most important thing, her honor and her status as a Harlem legend. Let's cross the ocean to foggy London in the early 20th century. Here, a gang operated striking fear into the most expensive shops in the city, and it consisted exclusively of women. They were called the 40 Elephants, or the 40 Thieves. These ladies were true artists of the criminal genre. They didn't use brute force. Their weapons were elegance, cunning, and incredible nerve. They were the elite of the thieving world. At the head of the Elephants was Alice Diamond, known as Diamond Annie. She was the queen of thieves. Under her leadership, the gang developed a whole system. The girls, dressed in the latest fashion, would enter luxury boutiques. They had special wide skirts and coats with hidden pockets that could fit whole rolls of fabric, furs, and jewelry. They acted as a single, well-oiled machine. One part of the group would distract the shop assistants by causing a scene or faking a faint, while the others rapidly filled their secret pockets with loot. They took everything that glittered from the stores, and if they were caught, they used their fists and blades hidden in their rings. The 40 Elephants weren't just thieves. They were a family with their own code of honor. They lived by the principle of one for all and all for one. Alice Diamond ruled with an iron fist. She collected all the loot and distributed it fairly, not forgetting those who ended up behind bars. She threw lavish parties where champagne flowed like water, and her girls showed off in stolen outfits. They lived bright and dangerous lives, proving that for true criminal talent, there are no barriers. Their gang existed for almost 2 centuries, becoming a true legend. But there are names that make the blood run cold in the veins of even the most hardened gangsters. Griselda Blanco, the Black Widow, the cocaine godmother. This woman built a cocaine empire that drowned Miami in blood and money in the 70s and 80s. She was a pioneer in drug trafficking between Colombia and the US. Pablo Escobar respected her and, it is said, even feared her. She was the embodiment of pure, undiluted terror. She began her journey on the streets of Medellin, going through a harsh school of survival. Griselda understood the main law of this world. You are either a predator or prey. She chose the former. After moving to New York and then Miami, she created a drug trafficking network from scratch. She came up with the idea of using female couriers with special underwear to transport cocaine. She thought outside the box, was brutal, and was always 2 steps ahead. Her reign in Miami went down in history as the Cocaine Cowboy Wars. The streets became a battlefield. Griselda knew no mercy. Competitors were eliminated in brave daylight. She popularized moto assassins, killers on motorcycles who could strike quickly and disappear into traffic. Rumor has it that she was responsible for over 200 murders. She killed in cold blood, whether it was a business partner, a debtor, or a random witness. She earned tens of millions of dollars a month. She had luxurious mansions, exotic animals, and a jewelry collection. She named her youngest son Michael Corleone, after the character in The Godfather. She herself became a godmother, only her story was far more terrifying than any movie. Griselda Blanco showed the world that female cruelty knows no bounds. Her name became synonymous with fear. Think such stories are a thing of the past? You're mistaken. Let's jump to modern-day Italy, to the very heart of the Neapolitan Camorra. Here, in a labyrinth of narrow streets where the clan, not the state, writes the laws, the star of Maria Licciardi rose. Her nickname is La Madrina, the Godmother. In a world where women were traditionally assigned the rules of wives and mothers, she became the boss of one of the most dangerous syndicates. Maria took over the Licciardi clan after her brothers were imprisoned or killed. No one expected that a short, quiet woman could hold on to power, but they underestimated her. Maria possessed a will of steel and an incredible strategic mind. She didn't just preserve the clan, she took it to a new level, uniting several warring families into the so-called Second Daniel Alliance. This alliance took control of all drug trafficking and racketeering in Naples. Maria operated not with force, but with diplomacy and cunning. She resolved disputes, distributed profits, and severely punished traitors. She was the mastermind of a vast criminal web. For years, the police couldn't even find a photograph of her. To her own people, she was a caring mother. To her enemies, a merciless judge. Her orders were not to be questioned. One of the most gruesome businesses attributed to her clan was the trafficking of young girls from Albania who were lured to Italy with promises of work and then forced into prostitution. For Maria Licciardi, money had no smell. She was a pragmatic and cold leader. Her story proves that a woman at the head of the mafia can be far more effective and dangerous than any male boss. Now let's look to Asia, into the world of the Triads. Here, women rarely hold top positions, but one of them became a legend. Chang Chui Ping, or Sister Ping. She didn't deal drugs or kill people. Her business was much more sophisticated. She was a snakehead, an organizer of illegal immigration. She smuggled tens of thousands of Chinese people into the US, creating a global underground empire. Sister Ping was a genius of logistics and conspiracy. She built complex schemes using old cargo ships, front companies, and corrupt officials all over the world. For many Chinese people dreaming of the American dream, she was their only hope. But this hope came at a high price, tens of thousands of dollars, and the journey itself was deadly. People died in the holds of ships. Those who made it to America fell into debt bondage. They had to work for years for her people in sweatshops or restaurants to pay off their debt. Sister Ping built her multi-million-dollar empire on human desperation. She was both a savior and a ruthless slave owner.
The FBI hunted her for many years, but she always slipped away, hiding in Chinatowns all over the world. Her story is not about street shootouts, but about quiet, calculated, and global crime. She showed that you don't always need a gun to build a criminal empire. Sometimes a calculator, a notebook, and a deep understanding of human weaknesses and desires are enough. She was eventually caught and convicted, but the legend of the mother of all snakeheads lives on. She changed the rules of the game. So what unites all these women? Stephanie, Alice, Griselda, Maria, Sister Ping. They were born into a world that didn't want to give them power. Society, and even the criminal world, assigned them secondary roles. But they refused to play by someone else's rules. They were products of their environment, cruel, unjust, where only the strongest survive. They took their fate into their own hands and wrote it in blood and money. Each of them possessed a unique set of qualities: intelligence, charisma, ruthlessness, organizational talent. They had to be twice as cunning, twice as tough, and twice as visionary as any man to succeed. They looked danger in the face and didn't blink. To some, they were monsters. To others, they were heroines and protectors. But their stories leave no one indifferent. Their path was a walk on a razor's edge. It's a story of how ambition can lift you to the top of the world and how it can also cast you into the abyss. They built empires, but often lost everything: their freedom, their families, their own lives. There is no romance in their stories, only the harsh truth of the streets. A truth that says, if you have the will, you can become anyone, even the queen of the criminal underworld. But be prepared to pay the price for the crown. Behind every such story lies not only criminal genius, but also a deep personal drama. These are women who crossed a line from which there is no return. They prove that the thirst for power, money, and respect has no gender. And as long as poverty, inequality, and the temptation of easy money exists, new queens will emerge, ready to challenge the world and take what's theirs at any cost. Their legacy lives on in urban legends. We've only told you about a few, but how many were there really? How many women ran gangs, planned robberies, and controlled entire criminal syndicates while remaining in the shadows of their husbands and brothers? The history of crime was written by men, but the real secrets and intrigues are often hidden behind women's names. And these secrets still stir the imagination and force us to look at the world of power in a new way. Remember, the street is a stage, and life on it is a game without rules. These women didn't just play, they were the directors of this cruel performance. They created their own laws, their own empires, and their own legends. Their stories are a powerful charge of energy, a reminder that even in the darkest corners of the world, one can find incredible willpower and the drive to reach the top no matter the cost. This is the true spirit of the streets. There they are, the queens of the criminal underworld. Their stories are not just tales, they are lessons about power, ambition, and the price paid for them. They proved that on the streets there are no weaklings. If this street energy has lit a fire in you, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It motivates us to find new, even more exciting stories for you. Don't miss the next episode. It's going to be even hotter. And now for the hook. If this video gets 2,000 likes, I'll tell you about the secret female Yakuza syndicate that still holds entire districts of Tokyo in fear. They are called the Dragon Sisters, and their methods would make even the most experienced gangsters shudder. Write in the comments which story from today's episode amazed you the most. See you on the dark side of the streets.